Welcome to our NPTEL MOOC module on health economics. The lecture is on Markov modeling and an introduction to sensitivity analysis. This is in continuation to the previous lecture where we discuss about costing, discounting and economic evaluation under uncertainties. If you remember, we discussed about under costing, we discussed about top down and bottom up approaches. And in discounting, we have emphasized cost and health discounting, and also we talk about theory supporting health discounting. And our economic evaluation with uncertainty, we emphasize decision analysis, where we have incorporated steps of decisions analysis, decision tree and their limitations. In this lecture, we are emphasizing on Markov modeling and also to introduce the sensitivity analysis. They are one way, multi-way both, and also we are discussing the challenges and different approaches opted as a solution as part of the sensitivity analysis. So, let us introduce Markov model. This is particularly referred to as a dynamic model under uncertainty. In real world, patients are not simply cured or not cured as a result of treatment. Just cure and not cure should not be the option, final option. In reality, we may get various possibilities. They might have different health states over time. Markov model is a way in which these different health states can be structured and analyzed. There are particular assumptions in Markov model. Then only we can able to explain. The first one is patients are in specific Markov states, that is called health states at any given time, and over specific time period, that is basically called cycles. They either stay in the same state or they will move to another state. That probability of moving is called transitional probability, hence it is called uncertainty. Hence, the assumption is as there is uncertainty, so transitional probabilities are attached. Let us use a simple example to understand what is this Markov model for economic evaluation. We have just cited here that Markov model in healthcare for disease progression. Consider a healthcare scenario where there are 1000 patients with specific illness who can be one of the three states, either well, sick or dead. A Markov model is employed to analyze the evolution of health states over time. We will explain the possible options. In the very initial state distribution, there might be three options. Out of all 1000 might be sick, 0 numbers are actually well, and 0 death, since we are saying all thousands are sick. During the first cycle, some get well, that is 200, let it be 200 out of the 1000 sick people which we have assumed. Let be the case that in the first cycle 200 are cured and some die, let it be 300. So, 500 are still remaining as sick. So, hence it connects to the second cycle that okay. So, we will just explain here. So, either among those well, there is a possibility that they might also get sick, okay, in the next cycle. Hence, in the second cycle there are possibility are little complex. We start with the sick people. Out of 500, some might get cured, that is 100, and 150 are actually dead. So, the remaining still are sick 250. Similarly, from the well, those who are cured in the first cycle might be facing troubles in the second cycle. Hence, possibilities are like this: 100 may be cured out of 200 and 80 might be sick. Okay. So, and then 20, so 100, then 80, then 20 are actually dead. So, now if we are supposed to add all together, we find in total how many are dead and how many are sick till the end of second cycle. The process can be repeated as many times as required, although in this example eventually everyone will be in observing state by the 30th cycle as mentioned by the author. Okay. So, in total all are absorbed. This is demonstrating Keynes assertion. Basically in the final cycle you will see all are actually dead. Okay. So, that means in the long run Keynes mentioned all are dead, hence present allocation or evaluation really matters. You can just see here we have just presented Morris et al. Work of different cycles, how many are well, how many are sick and how many are dead out of 1000 people, and 20 cycles are presented here, actually another 10 are there. So, last 10 final 10 actually counts, all are dead. Okay, there is no further cycle possible. How can we make this useful for economic evaluation? So, let us see. We require actually further add-ins we require add-ins of cost or benefits or in terms of the utility. So, let us say we assign utility values to our existing example. For well it is being well it is 1 and being dead it is 0, and for sick it is, let it be 0.6. Okay, let us assume that in the first cycle that is of 1 year, so we are supposed to calculate quality adjusted life years. So, if you remember we have already made it in your lecture that on the end of first cycle when we say 500 people, if you remember 500 was there in our example. Okay, on the very first cycle 500, 200 and 300 we are just going to use it further. Okay, even it is here as well 200, 500 and 300 on the first cycle. So, first one is we said that 500 are actually sick and their probability value is 0.6, and being well there are 200 people, hence 200 into 1 and 0 they are dead. So, that will be 0, then in total there are 500 qualities on the end of first cycle. On the second cycle similarly with the same approach based on the number, second cycle you can just see how many are there, 330 and 200 you can just see. So, 330 into 0.6 plus 200 into 1, so 398. So, the cumulative qualities are actually 898. So, qualities accumulate over time and that actually gives the accumulative value of the quality of life. So, from the table you are just presenting the cumulative quality. Initially it was 500 which we have already shown you, then another 398 added. So, it accounts to this is 500, 300. So, it is cumulative 1, 898 and so on. Okay, so, most qualities are accumulated in the early years. You can just see most of the qualities are actually the change is actually huge value of the qualities are actually accumulated in the early years. Later on, since we are approaching towards the later age and towards the period of death, hence the qualities returns are very less. So, total after 20 years is actually 2324, but 90% of this is gained in the very first 10 years. You can see, okay, first till 10 years already 90% are already gained. So, to compare alternative treatments, assume that different treatments will have different transition probabilities and therefore generate different utilities or costs. Since there are transition probabilities, hence it will have different utilities. So, let us discuss sensitivity analysis. Earlier we discussed how models to some extent deal with uncertainties by assuming probabilities to the events within the model. The other aspects of uncertainty are dealt with sensitivity analysis. Okay. All right. So, what do you mean by sensitivity analysis? This is a set of techniques that essentially seek to analyze how sensitive results are to uncertainty. Okay. In the context of modeling, it analyzes how sensitive results are to change in the model. For example, change in the structure of the decision tree or in the data that is contained within, or say, a parameter value. Okay, so there are different forms of sensitivity analysis. One type is using the plausible range method, that is called one-way sensitivity analysis, and there is called multi-way sensitivity analysis. So, in the one-way sensitivity analysis, we are looking at how sensitive are the results to the change in one parameter. Okay, so and this can be also discussed with this example of alternative treatments for an illness, okay, such as surgery versus drug therapy. Okay, surgery versus drug therapy in this example, and the sensitivity of the rates with the assumption about different discount rates in the horizontal axis is given. So, discount over the time, the rates are discounted. So, in the vertical axis we are measuring the incremental cost of surgery as against drugs. So, hence in the vertical axis measures the incremental cost effective ratio, that is called CR. Okay, ICAR, incremental cost effective ratio for surgery versus drug therapy. So, what is this? Basically it is all about cost of the surgery minus the cost of drug therapy, which we have taken, divided by the quality of the surgery minus the quality of drug therapy. So, we have already explained the CR in our earlier lectures. You can follow that, and when CR is below the ceiling ratio, the surgery is actually preferred. You can just see once the CR is till this, once this is below the ceiling ratio, okay, and the surgery is actually preferred. Once it is above this, then the drug therapy is actually preferred. We have already just highlighted from this onwards, it is actually drug therapy. And this explains one-way sensitivity analysis. We are also going to give you the multi-way. Now, in the one-way, basically if S is taken as the base case value of the discount rate, that is the variable parameter, ranging between upper limit to lower limit, it is a limit. We have also mentioned starting with the base rate of S, and upper limit is also can be reached with certain discounted rates. And but threshold, when the threshold is attached, we can decide whether it is surgery or drugs preferred. Okay, and T lies below U and L. Okay, so it is actually sensitive. If outside, then of course it is not. Coming to the multi-way sensitivity analysis. So, when we actually vary more than one parameter at the same time, so far we have only taken one parameter. Therefore, our case is presented in two-dimensional space. But if it is more than one, it is relatively complex. Unfortunately, for more than 2 or 3 parameter, it becomes very cumbersome. Hence, we have shown it just for 2 variable parameter. We have taken 2 variables. So, the 2 parameters to understand this sensitivity analysis are discount rate, which we already discussed in the previous one-way case, and second one is the proportion of patients that experience adverse events with the drug. Okay, with the drug, how they experience adverse events. So, each point they are explaining different combination of the discount rate or the adverse event rate. So, and you can see that all points where the cost effective ratio is presented, and we are also going to mark the threshold. Since we have already taken 2 variable case, 2 parameter case, then threshold level itself is the line, not the label. So, the line is basically comparing these two, either going for drug adverse, that is like proportion of patients that experience adverse events with the drug, or they going for preferring the going for the discount rate based decisions. So, all points on the threshold line explain a person is indifferent between surgery and drug therapy. So, drug and surgery therapy can be explained through a threshold line that we have already highlighted here. The drug adverse effect rate does not impact surgical options directly, but the higher it is, the higher cost of the drug option. That means it is better relative to the CR of the surgery. Any value below this threshold line, any value to below, actually drug is preferred, which we already discussed here. And then above 2 is actually the threshold line is actually the surgery is actually preferred. However, we said earlier that the degree of sensitivity lies between the range of the base case values. Okay. If x chosen as the base case value of both discount rate and the drug adverse event rate with different upper and lower ranges of each, then the separate one-way analysis would indicate results not sensitive. Lines that passes through the base case, okay, and crosses outside the possible range, all the possible range of that x which I have just highlighted here. If the line is passes and through that base case, then it has better interpretation through the two analysis. Like in this case, we will take the combination of these two aspects. So, in that case results are sensitive, and since the threshold line partly passes through, this is what we are just mentioning carefully, threshold line partly passes through the area of sensitivity, which we have just highlighted in the grey box, this indicating the inefficiency of one-way analysis. Okay. So, if it is just passing a very small portion of it, that means the one-way analysis is actually not giving better sensitivity analysis. The limitations of sensitivity analysis using plausible range methods are here they are basis for selecting upper and lower ranges unclear and not testable. To solve this, probability sensitivity analysis using decision analysis is required. It regards base case value as a point estimate of cost effectiveness and uses sensitivity analysis for providing interval estimates or confidence interval. Probability sensitive analysis is actually also called stochastic cost effective analysis when it is part of a trial based analysis like RCT, randomized controlled trial. Here we use methods such as for this, some of the methods are used called bootstrapping, where the CR distribution is generated by repeated sampling from the data, or in the context of modeling, Monte Carlo simulations is also useful. Okay. So, that means a distribution is assumed for each of the parameters and sample is taken for those parameters to calculate CR when repeated many times. This generates empirical distribution of CRS. There are challenges with the stochastic sensitivity analysis, like it is possible that it may include both positive and negative values of CR, making no sense to include them in the same confidence interval. To solve this, NBA, that is net benefit approach, which we discuss in lecture number 8.4, and also another approach, that is cost effectiveness acceptability curve, that is CAC, introduced in lecture number 8.6. Both are based on critical ceiling ratio or threshold, defining the cost effectiveness that a treatment must achieve to be acceptable. The NBA in short gives single number instead of ratio, therefore straightforward to compute the confidence interval of this CR, whereas in case of CAC, that is cost effective acceptability curve, this retains CR but replaces the concept of confidence interval. This enables the probability calculation that a treatment is acceptable given a ceiling ratio, which is plotted against its probability. So, we have discussed so many directions in the entire sections on economic evaluation in healthcare. These are all the schematic presentation or the systematic presentation of our two units on economic evaluation in healthcare. So we discussed all possibilities such as welfare, extra welfare cases. We discussed about, there are different approaches. We today we just touched on Markov model, then sensitivity analysis, etc. So these are mentioned here, and you can just follow on your own. I'm sure. Even just to mention that we discussed about QALY, DALY, HLYE, etc. So please follow this, and if you are still somewhere stuck, please don't hesitate. We are trying our best to clarify in the query lecture. So in the next lecture, in particular, we will be introducing you on efficiency. So analysis in healthcare, the entire week coming off with efficiency, productivity and efficiency analysis in healthcare. Here are the readings. I think will be useful if you are gearing enough for taking up the research. So that's all for today. Thank you.